What's up, everybody? Brett here, back today with some more Total War Warhammer 3 news. If I sound hype, I am. It's another day, another sick reveal from CA. Guys, this time it's going to be like a minute and a half long teaser for Tzeentch, guys. Oh my god, it's so sick. We're going to watch it first. I might talk a little bit, might not. Guys, this whole video, this whole point of this, I'm going to watch the video. We're going to talk about the units that we see. You guys can definitely go and watch the video by yourself if you like first and then come back here. I like to have those kind of experiences myself, or I'll watch it myself, try to absorb everything, and then I go on the internet and see what the hell everyone's talking about. But then after that, we're going to go to the blog post, which has been down for like the last half hour, and we're going to read it. And then we're just going to nerd out and talk about it for a little bit. So sit back, relax, enjoy. I'll do all the reading for you. I've got some images pulled up on third-party websites. And by third party, I just mean other press release stuff. There are some images that aren't in the main pages that we can look at that have even more units revealed than the stuff we're going to see in this trailer. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and watch it together. And yeah, here we go.
It is foreseen. Change was inevitable. Masters of manipulation, orchestrators of grand complexity.
Oh, hell yeah.
All touched by the architect of fate. Do you seek the ultimate truth?
Holy crap. You know what? I've watched a lot of trailers over the years for a lot of games, especially Total War. That might be the first time I ever really, I don't know, almost felt like a little scared. Like I could just imagine being the humans trying to fight these things and being like, what the hell are these guys? So in this one trailer, we obviously saw Kairos Fate Weaver. He's the legendary lord. He's Big Bird with two heads, right? We saw a one-headed version of him, the Exalted Lord of Change. We've got, I think we even saw hero variants of the, what are they called? Like the horrors. I don't know what they're, my naming knowledge of the Tzeentch units is pretty low. I did make a couple notes when I saw them. Obviously, we've seen the Flamers before, and we've seen the horrors before, the different varieties of horrors. You can definitely tell which units are supposed to be hero units. You know, you got that little pink creeper. We could probably go back and just find him. But you could see, we could slow down if we wanted to, and we could go through and identify all the different, big reveals that we had here. But yeah, we saw the Chaos Knights once again on their floating discs. We've got Screamers. What else? What else were there? We saw Forsaken. Forsaken are kind of like a standard. What else did I notice? The Soul Grinders were not in this video, but we did see them in the Cathay video very briefly. You had to kind of pause it and watch them break down one of the barricades. The Soul Grinders, they're like super 40k looking, demons with lower body like from Wild Wild West. What else? What else? I don't know, there was so much. I guess the harpy looking dudes, those are the Furies, and of course Chaos Spawn. But we also saw, let's see, is it way early on, right? Yes, right here. Let's see if we can go back and look at it real quick. You can see the human, like the cultist looking dudes here. I think this is a new reveal. I don't think we've seen these guys before. And there's also a part, let's see, where is it? And I don't know what these things are called. This isn't it. It's like the flying chariot units with like a bunch of demons on top. I think it's right here. These guys. And we get a better look at them in one of the pictures that I found on a different website. So it's like a bunch of little horrors with a bunch of books flying on a disc. I don't know what their deal is. I don't know what those are called. I'm stoked. I can't wait. So I've been waiting for this blog to actually work. The link was all 404'd on us, but it does work now. So we can go ahead and pull it up. If that didn't get you guys hyped, I don't know what will, because that was pretty sick. I'm assuming there was a bit of controversy, and I'm going to talk about this right off the bat before we start reading. There's a bit of controversy over the perception that CA simply reskinned all the Chosen for all the different Chaos factions, and it looks like they did. I mean, except for, Khorne. Actually, you know what? Khorne had some different armor types. And maybe that's just because Khorne's armor is so distinct, they felt like they couldn't get away with it. But in some of the previous media that we've seen, Tzeentch's Chosen, their Chaos Warriors, the mortal elements of their armies looked very... They just look recolored, not even kit bashed, not even just recolored. So it's speculated that perhaps they were absent mostly from this video because they are working on them. I find that hard to believe. I feel like this is a video that's been done for quite some time. It's very polished. They didn't slap this together, I don't think, in the last week or two. But I wouldn't be surprised if they are in fact working on the actual models. CA has been good in the past about hearing the community whenever it's egregious, whenever they clearly make something that just looks like, a modder could do better in 5 minutes, which sometimes they do. They usually go back and try to fix it, i.e. The Empire units, the unique units for each province. They went back and changed a bunch of them because they look terrible, and they made them look cooler. But guys, control, predict, and manipulate with Tzeentch on the campaign map. These are the campaign mechanics, the juicy deets, as the kids say. No kids say that. That we've been waiting for the Tzeentch campaigns. I'm excited because I don't think we saw any of the Khorne campaign mechanics. So this might be our first look at the Daemons campaign mechanics. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some crossover in what it is they're trying to accomplish. But Tzeentch is also such a unique god, even amongst the Chaos gods, that his mechanics might be just crazy different. So let's read it together, okay? Welcome back to the Campaign Mechanics Roundup for Factions in Total Warhammer 3. We saw you coming. That's a good joke. You gotta nod to a good joke when you read it. Tzeentch is the god of change, manipulation, and magic, the great conspirator and the changer of ways. His intricate plans and endless schemes double back upon one another in a web of lies, half-truths, promises, and betrayal that would make any mortal's head spin. Kairos Fateweaver, legendarily powerful Lord of Change and Spellcaster Supreme, leads the Oracles of Tzeentch in an invasion of Cathay and the rest of the world to follow shortly. So, the little bit of lore that I know about Kairos Fateweaver is something to the effect of him and Tzeentch were chilling one day next to like a well of eternity, straight out of Warcraft 3. Just a giant black hole of infinite magic power. And Tzeentch was like, I'm not going in there. So he grabbed Kairos and threw him in. And Kairos, basically went all Ant-Man, tripping for like 1 trillion years, came out and had all of this crazy, knowledge and super powerful. It's like he got juiced up. He went Super Saiyan, got juiced up, and even Tzeentch looked at him like, holy crap. He survived. So Kairos is interesting in that he sees both the past and the future, but I guess he has some problem seeing the present. It's kind of the cool, like, the dichotomy there, and then, he's got the two heads. So it's like in battle, he always kind of knows what's going to happen, and he also kind of has all of the history to pull from. But like in battle, you can still surprise him and stuff. It's why he's not like some omnipotent god fighter. But that's just a little bit that I know about him, and that makes him a very dangerous enemy to fight against. I'm very excited to see his implementation in game. He looks sick. He looks very cool. Today is the first time we're showing off what the Mono God factions can get up to on the campaign map. That means showing the attributes they share alongside the ones that make them completely different, and so continuously at odds with one another. The great game is constantly played, and who is in the Ascendant can have a significant effect on their armies and factions. While Tzeentch and our other Chaos factions feature only one legendary lord to begin with, the mechanics outlined below are defined as those specific to the god, rather than Kairos. That's good. We'll detail him at a later date. Interesting. So future DLC and FLC that aligns itself to Tzeentch will use some of or all of these mechanics as well as that legendary lord specifics. We plan to support Total War Warhammer 3 for a long, long time onwards. Excellent. Grimoires. There we go. First bit right off the bat. As a god of knowledge, Tzeentch desires it above all else. Grimoires represent forbidden texts, hidden spellbooks, ancient lore, unknown histories, and everything else that is floating around the Warhammer world that is not commonly known. It is favor with Tzeentch and can be used to ensure success. So maybe something similar to influence. Maybe you acquire it through some means similar to how the Tomb Kings acquire canoptic jars. Maybe how they acquire their books of Nagash. Remains to be seen. Oh, well, it's about to tell me maybe. Grimoires are collected and generated by any number of actions. Battles, building, sacking, settlements, dilemmas, and more. Okay, so questions answered. Definitely read first, Brett. By themselves, they do very little, but you have an endless number of ways to spend them, and keeping a steady supply will make you a master of the world, even without your armies. So we have these abilities here, and we can keep reading. Okay, it tells me what they do. I don't have to speculate. Excellent. But we'll come back to this in just a second here after we read and educate ourselves. The primary spin for Grimoires is in the changing of ways. This is a series of actions unique to Tzeentchian factions that allow you to change or observe things on the campaign map with merely a wave of the wrist, causing a mouse click usually. Each has a reasonable cooldown and costs a chunk of Grimoires, scaling with the severity and effectiveness of the action. Beyond the first, each also requires a technology to unlock, okay, because some of these look powerful just at first glance, even just as I'm seeing it. Forcing war, transferring settlements, like, this needs to be hidden behind some tech and stuff. Some of which may be buried fairly deep in the tree. There we go. Here's a rundown of what's possible. Okay, we see here what they look like. They look like little books with eyeballs that cost 50 to perform. We can pick what we pick. Dreaded Woe. Looks like a chaos faction. Anyway, interesting. Okay, let's see what's possible. Transfer settlement. Transfer control and ownership of one settlement to a new faction. This can be your faction or another. We could just steal settlements. That's pretty sweet. I'm assuming it's expensive, though. Like, I'm assuming it goes like this. So, like, the cheapest, most expensive, right? So, reveal faction intentions, fairly cheap. Like, reveal shroud. Opening gates, halting transferring settlements and forcing war. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, or even more scaled than that. Open gates. Open the gates of a major settlement with walls for any battles in that settlement in the next few turns. Very cool. Just run straight in. That sounds sick. Force rebellion. Causes a rebellion in a region, spawning an army for the owner to contend with. That could be useful. Track army. You are given the line of sight of a target army. There's some, I wonder if you can do it to the, what are they called? The rogue armies that are running around. There's that one guy, his name starts with a V, who's got the scariest army in the game. Every time he pops up, sometimes he'll pop up in your territory with like black dragons and Black Guard and Nagaron. It'll be like turn 20. And he just like pops in and out. And I'm just like, man, I wish I knew with his. It gives me like anxiety not knowing where he is. We've got reveal faction intention. Shows the plans of all armies a target faction controls. I wonder if it's just for a single turn. Otherwise, it's weird, right? Because the AI kind of knows what it's going to do, but then it changes what it does based on what you do, I'm assuming. But maybe it's just like for a turn, you get to know exactly where everyone's going to move. That's cool. I wonder how this works when you're playing multiplayer. Reveal Shroud gives complete vision of a target faction's territory. You can get a lot of value from that. Target the biggest faction, target Cathay or the Empire or whatever. They're not going to be together in the game quite yet. But Cathay, let's say, and get this huge vision of the entire Cathayan Empire. That seems pretty valuable. You can. It kind of shows you where all the armies are, so you're kind of getting like the ability to track their armies in the same. And maybe if you play the game enough, knowing where their armies are kind of shows you the faction's intentions, right? So, Reveal Shroud seems pretty strong. Halt faction. All characters, so armies and heroes, have their movement halted and disabled for the faction's following turn. God dang, that is crazy. It's like Time Walk for Magic the Gathering. They're just playing Time Walk turn 2 on you. Awesome. Give war coordination target. Gives a faction a war coordination target even if they are not your ally. Break alliance. Break the military or defensive alliance between two factions. And then force a war between two factions. That is sweet. So like in the late game when the Order Tide is happening, when like the dwarves and the Empire, for instance, team up in this unbreakable bond of fellowship, you can force them to go to war with each other during a chaos invasion. That is awesome and crazy. It's going to really shake up the game. I love it. As you can imagine, this can get hectic, manipulative, and downright scummy depending on your desires and plans. While it's unlikely you will be able to get all your goals completed without ever annihilating an enemy army yourself, it gives several fascinating possibilities in the mid to late game. Even early transferring settlements between factions you're not interested in, warring with the ones you're about to conquer can be very powerful. Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of giving more late game opportunities. It's just everything has to be seen in practice, right? This is all great, but if I get to turn 100 and I own half the world already, and I'm playing like very hard campaign, I own half the world at turn 100. None of this matters. Almost none of this matters anymore. But I hope that's not the case. Or even worse, the coolest technologies, the coolest spells, sometimes all that stuff is hidden so late in the tree that literally I've won. I'm 200. Like, I had a Torox campaign, Oxyotl campaign that I didn't really even finish because I conquered the world. I conquered almost the entire world, and I still hadn't gotten to the end of some of my trees and stuff. So I just hope that it's something that comes into play in the early, mid, and late game. Something that I can always feel like is useful, and it's not like a junk mechanic. Okay. Winds of Magic Manipulation. Also a very sick looking picture. The color schemes here are wild. And then, yeah, we've kind of already looked at this. Okay. Just making sure we're not missing anything. Look at that. It's like a sick looking portal. I'm curious what we're looking at exactly here. If this is a battle map or just like a zoom in on the campaign map. Another ability unique to Tzeentch is his specific control of the Winds of Magic. Indeed, so tied are his machinations to them that many buildings have unique effects when the Winds of Magic are particularly strong, increasing their capabilities. To this end, Tzeentch can reduce the Winds of Magic in one province where he has a settlement to increase it in another at will. That is super cool. He'll just always be juiced. He'll be juiced to the gills, Kairos that is, with magic. Depending on his spells, this could be super abusive and fun. As well as providing the aforementioned buffs to his buildings, this allows for armies with multiple spellcasters. That's going to be quite a lot for your Tzeentch armies, believe it or not, to benefit heavily in terms of the power reserves available to them. It's also worth noting that there have been some large changes made to the nature of the Winds of Magic and power reserves in battle, which we will detail soon. The upshot is that this ability should never be discounted to ensure victory. That's excellent. I'm not opposed to a change to the Winds of Magic system. I thought it was functioning quite well, other than the bugs, the gambling bug and all that stuff. However, I don't know. It requires some thinking on. I could see ways they could improve it. They could also accidentally mess it up. But we saw in the last video with Cathay that we looked in the bottom right corner. It was like a weird hourglass shape, the way they had the Winds of Magic. So maybe the idea is to make it so that you never run out of Winds of Magic, but you get a smaller trickle so that it can't really be abused quickly. But you always kind of have it throughout the entire battle so that it feels more even, more fair, perhaps. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe the more spellcasters you have, the faster your magic regions in battle, so the more spells you can cast. Something like that. I'm just kind of spitballing, but that might be the way it's done. So also in the last video, we saw that every Chaos God has its own version of corruption. We saw those little symbols in the corner in the UI, and I'm hoping that this is going to talk about this right now. So corruption, unholy manifestations, and the great game. Look at these dudes with little bitty knives. It's so funny. I don't know if the knives make them scarier, honestly. It almost makes them look stupid. Like, if I see this thing in a dark alley, I am terrified. If it's holding a little dagger, I'm like, I'm going to F you up, dude. I'm like drawing my sword and I'm going to mess you up. I don't know. It makes me think I got a chance against you. I just see like a little knife. It's like, oh, is that all you got? And then they spit like hot fire on me and disintegrate me. So the great game never ceases between the Chaos Gods. It represents their endless attempts to one-up each other. The endless infighting of chaos that ensures that even should they dominate the world, it is unlikely to ever know peace. Even the gods that can stand each other rarely see eye to eye, and alliances are rarer than a surprised Lord of Change. Thus, it is represented in Warhammer 3 as which god is in the ascendant, powering up all their factions on the map. This is in the form of improvements to holy, or unholy rather, manifestations. 4 free abilities available to every demon faction, which are unlocked as that faction's corruption spreads through the world. Yes, corruption is now split between general chaos corruption and 4 types, 1 for each god. We'll detail this system at another time, but what you need to know right now is that unholy manifestations unlock, as more corruption for your god is spread across the land. The upgraded versions have heavier effects, generating more of a resource or dealing more damage to an army, for example. And here's Tzeentch. So, you know what? All this is going to do, hopefully, is make the Untainted trait all that much more important for your campaigns. Everyone understands why public order is important most of the time, especially newer players. It's kind of easy to grok. It's easy to understand. Public order. If I don't have public order in my cities, people revolt. I get bad things happen. It's kind of easy to understand growth. Growth makes my population big, makes it easy to upgrade my buildings, right? I think the tainted corruption, like the vampiric corruptions, and there's multiple different factions that cause that. Skaven corruption is even complicated when you're playing a Skaven because they want corruption, don't want corruption. It's awkward. And then chaos corruption, causes problems for people as well. It gives you a reason to really go after that untainted traits for your heroes, for your lords, and for your city buildings. So, yeah, you might have to prioritize that a lot, especially in the places that border chaos factions. So, here we go. Scriveners of Insanity. Unlocked from the start. Allows a friendly army to generate a big batch of grimoires over the course of several turns. The army cannot move during this time and must be in enemy territory. Oh, that's interesting. So I wonder if you could just recruit a lord, put nothing in his army, send him across a border, right into enemy territory, and then sit him there. And then you send your real army out ahead and actually do the fighting while that one, lord, that costs you some gold, but is generating you grimoires. I wonder if that's going to be the way to cheese that. Mutagenic energies requires 1,500 global Tzeentch corruption. Causes a target army to suffer attrition for a turn, regardless of situation or immunities. I like that. That's pretty cool. I wonder what the cooldown is. Magic Flare requires 3,000 global Tzeentch corruption. Increases the range and barrier hit points. And here we go. This is the first time I think this has been officially named. Increases the range and barrier hit points of all units in an army. Barrier is a special shield all Tzeentch units have. We'll detail this further in the upcoming roster reveal. So, in the last video, you could see that under the health bar, under the ammo bar for the Tzeentch units, there was a blue bar. And that blue bar is the barriers that they all share, which will, I'm guessing, I don't know if it's a pure ward save, if it's rechargeable like Protoss shields in StarCraft. We'll have to wait and see. So, and then Night of Madness requires 6,000 global Tzeentch corruption. Target friendly army generates Tzeentch corruption and control. Renamed from public order. Okay, so they've renamed public order. Control. Okay. Loss in a province, as well as increasing the army's Winds of Magic power reserve. It cannot move during these turns. That's a lot. That's a very powerful thing. Of course, as corruption spreads, it has more impact than that. And then we get into cults here. There's so many abilities. Okay, cults. Let's do it. And that was a lot. I mean, this is a lot of information just in this one little section. Don't think I'm not aware of that. That is a lot of info. A lot of changes as well. As well as the passive effects of high corruption, which are unique to each god and will be detailed down the line, cults can form once a god is particularly dominant in a region. This cult becomes a foreign building slot owned by you that can construct unique buildings based on your dedicated god. Tzeentch's options are. So this sounds like the Skaven Undercity or the Vampire Coast secret pirate cove things that they build. Two, things that are kind of hard and or even Oxyatls has something similar. Good ideas, awkward in practice. You always have something else you're trying to spend your gold on. You always have something else you're trying to do. But if this is free and it's really just based on, it's probably not free. But if it is caused naturally by the spread of corruption and it's not something the player themselves have to engage in with resources that take away from your early game armies or whatever else, I could see this being very impactful. So Sanctuary generates grimoires per turn. Repository generates more, but requires high Winds of Magic level. Sanctum generates a decent amount of income, but also requires high Winds of Magic level. And then Campus destroys the cult, but increases Winds of Magic here and in all adjacent to Tempestuous. You probably don't require the entire knowledge base of Tzeentch to understand the strategy here, but naturally it all depends on where your cults develop and what you're in need of. Generating huge amounts of grimoires can be far more valuable than income after all, particularly in the late game. That's true. So you either want money or you want grimoires, right? Makes sense. And then Chaos will probably spawn also, rebel armies in their areas and stuff like that. So, man, another thing. Unique to Tzeentch and unlocked through the tech tree, his armies can go into the teleport stance. This costs Winds of Magic reserve power to adopt, but is exceptionally powerful. Not only does it allow crossing of impassable terrain, say mountain and ranges, rivers, patrolled areas, but instantly triggers an ambush battle should you target an enemy army. That is so sick. It's a one-shot move, so you must readopt the stance if you wish to go again on the next turn. But getting to ambush armies as you like can really swing a war your way. This level of power is why it is locked in the later game for Tzeentch, requiring various techs to unlock. Speaking of which, alright. There we go, that's a full screen, baby. So, we've got some tech here. Exalted Locus of Conjuration, Glean Magic, Way of Deceit, Greater Locus of Change, Way of War. And these cause grimoires to unlock. Then in the center here, we've got Thaumaturgic Locus, Arcane Surge, Gift of Mutation, Way of Deception, Teleport here costs 100. Fires of Change, Cult Whisper, Secret of Chrysopia, and Locus of Transmogrification. And some other ones here. Way of Manipulation also costs 100, and Way of War costs 100. I think that lets you, make people go to war. And the Manipulation, I don't know, that one might be the one that gives settlements. Oh no. It's like CSI, we have to go deeper. Okay, but that's just a little look at the tech tree there. Tzeentch's tech tree is a bit more of a tech web, spreading out from a center point like the spider's home. Nothing the Changer of Ways does is ever simple or straightforward. Each area of the tree is unlocked by one of the central techs, and then has a couple of looping paths through it leading to a final tech. This means you're rarely going to take the exact same path through the tree on 2 playthroughs, unless you have an exact composition and plan in mind. That's a cool idea. It's also worthy of study to find which prerequisites might point you in a specific direction. It's also worth noting that, along with the unique Changer of Ways techs you might unlock, there are several other areas that are uncommon or unique choices. Various techs will give spells to all your Lords of Change, letting you field an entire army of powerful, monstrous spellcasters, even without filling your hero slots, and then becoming more powerful over the course of the game. That's interesting. Finally, with knowledge so key to Tzeentch, he has an endless number of ways to increase research rate, including commandments, buildings, and more regular things like hero actions. With a dedicated plan, you will blitz through the tech tree and be fielding cheap, effective, and devastating armies earlier than your opponents. Jesus. And they'll be teleporting around like nothing personal, kid, popping up behind you with their katanas. Just as planned. That's all for Tzeentch, though naturally much of his gameplay revolves around the new magic systems, lores, and corruption changes. We'll get into the former two within the coming weeks, and the latter at a more appropriate time to corrupt the lands. See you soon. Awesome. So, all of this sounds pretty sweet to me. Also bear in mind that we're not seeing whatever Kairos Fateweaver's unique mechanics are. Maybe he has something cool that even lends more to this playstyle, more to this Tzeentchian, I don't know, playstyle. I don't know, I said it already. Yeah, it just makes it even more fun, even more powerful. We have yet to see. I am as excited as I am for the choices that they're making. They're going with the big demon boys, it seems like, for the first lord choices for all the Chaos factions. And like Scarbrands for Khorne, we've got Kairos here. I can't remember the names for the big for Nurgle and for Slaanesh. I can't remember the names of the two most famous greater demons that they have. I can picture them, but I can't remember them. But I'm sure those will be the options as well. And then I wouldn't be surprised if the DLCs for those are all 4 of them mortal lords that come out. And then you get a big pack of mortal units for each Chaos God. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the plan. And I wouldn't also be surprised, just knowing a little bit or trying to understand a little bit how game development works, if they're already like done. If they're already done, they've got all the mortal characters kind of done, they're working on them a little bit, and then they'll drop them alongside their respective lords. I would be surprised, or they're currently in progress, just kind of ahead of time trying to get that done. But I'm stoked. All this was good stuff. I'm happy to see it. Thanks, CA, for putting all this stuff out for us to nerd out over. And this last little picture here, I can't really zoom in on it just because of the way it is. But you just get a slightly clearer look at this, whatever the heck this is. And there's other stuff in the background. You can see the soul grinders. You can see, I don't know what this is. I don't know what, it's breathing fire. It's hard to tell what it is. But whatever the heck these things are, these little horrors reading books, standing on floating discs. They're awesome looking. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you guys that. I hadn't seen that picture anywhere else, but other than on Game Watcher. And this picture as well is pretty sweet. If you want like a wallpaper or something. But guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Brett. Channel's Goodtalk Gaming. Hope you're as hyped as I am. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Like, subscribe, all that stuff if you want. I'll be making more videos. Take care, guys.